द ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਦੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਹਾਰਦਿਕ ਸਵਾਗਤ। ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਾਥ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਮੰਡੇ ਟੂ ਫਰਾਈਡੇ ਸਵੇਰੇ 7 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 8 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ, ਮੰਡੇ ਟੂ ਥਰਸਡੇ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ 10 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 11 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ, ਅਤੇ ਸੈਟਰਡੇ ਨੂੰ 2 ਵਾਰੀ ਸਾਂਝ ਪਾਇਆ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਦੁਪਹਿਰ 2 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 3 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਅਤੇ ਰਾਤ 8 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 9 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ। ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਹੀ ਸਾਡਾ ਫੋਕਸ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਨਫੋਰਮ ਕਰੀਏ, ਐਜੂਕੇਟ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕੋ ਅਤੇ ਸਹੀ ਫੈਸਲੇ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਹੀ ਨਿਰਣੇ ਕਰ ਸਕੋ। ਇਸੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਬੁਲਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੁਲਾ ਕੇ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਦਾ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟ ਲੈ ਸਕੋ। ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਹਨ ਗੈਰੀ ਥਾਂਡੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਇਨਫੋਰਮੇਸ਼ਨ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਜੈਨੇਸਿਸ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਅਤੇ ਇੰਪਾਵਰਮੈਂਟ ਸੁਸਾਇਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਕੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸੋਲੂਸ਼ਨ ਲੱਭਣ ਲਈ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਹ ਸਭ ਲਈ ਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਚਿੰਤਾ ਦਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਾ ਹੈ। ਭਾਵੇਂ ਹੁਣ ਛੋਟੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ, ਅੱਜ ਐਡਿਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਦਾ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਸਭ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਭਾਰੂ ਹੋਇਆ ਪਿਆ ਹੈ। ਐਡਿਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਦਾ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੇਕਰ ਰੱਬ ਨਾ ਕਰੇ ਗਲਤੀ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਨਾ ਚਲੇ ਗਏ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਿਕਲ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਔਰ ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਗੈਰੀ ਥਾਂਡੀ ਨਾਲ। Gary, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Gary, today we would like to know a little bit about addictions. You know, we hear about addictions, everybody is concerned, right across the streets, anywhere you go, you feel not safe and you feel that anytime your child might get induced to it, and the results are really bad for that. So what kinds of addictions you see and what should the people be aware of?
Well, there's many forms of addiction, the most common being alcohol addictions, so alcoholism or problem alcohol use. There's drug addiction. There is a more emerging sort of area around gaming addiction, so video games and how that influences certain people. And there's some science that shows that it does impact the brain, and it often is similar to the experience of addiction for people that overplay video games. But the biggest, and especially in our South Asian Punjabi community, alcohol abuse is very large,
Right.
in many of our men in our male population, and substance use is also growing.
Right. Now, when we talk about alcohol addiction, especially in our community, well, it's accepted, and that social status what we have given to this. So, do you think that in other communities also alcohol is consumed, but the way it is consumed in our community and then it becomes an addiction and later on creates lots of problems? Could you just elaborate on this as to why, if other addictions are bad, we consider, why is alcohol considered to be supreme, or we get easily addicted to it?
I think that there's a few different reasons potentially. Alcohol has always been marketed as something to do for social reasons. So even in Canada, I was born and raised here. That was often beer is something you do for social gatherings, or you drink hard alcohol to get together, and so it's often marketed as a way to be social. And for many people it can be, and so they can moderate their drinking. But there's a segment of our population where it becomes a problem, and everyone always thinks, well, I'm going to be the social drinker, I'll never be the problem drinker.
Right.
Unfortunately, we know that from a group there's always going to be some that will be social drinkers,
Right.
but others that it will develop into a problem. In our community, it's, I think, similar around the social piece, similar around other reasons that people drink, and when they're not feeling happy, when they're depressed, it often is looked at as a way to cope.
Right.
When they're tired, it's looked at as a way to relax and maybe rest the bones. And so those perceptions are certainly there in all communities, but it's very strong in our community, those beliefs that
Right.
you can be social, it can be when you're sad, it can be when you're happy, it can be when you're angry.
So any occasion, just use
Yes.
this, right?
Yeah, and that it'll have some sort of benefit, though we know it doesn't. It creates, for anyone that's depressed, it actually makes you more depressed. For anyone that's angry, it will typically allow them, they will lose their inhibitions and allow their anger to come out, which can cause extra problems.
Right.
So it rarely ever does what you think it will, but those thoughts still exist that it's going to help me in this situation. And so again, there's a lot of people I've worked with, they didn't expect it to be a problem. It started socially and it became a problem and they didn't even realize it.
Right. Now, when you say it becomes a problem, how do you identify that it's become a problem? Is a person always just wanting to drink? Is that one reason? Is that one indication that it has become a problem, drinking aspect, or there are other reasons also?
That is one reason. Others as well, usually we look at, are they physically addicted? So that's a point where they need to drink in order to feel well.
Right.
And when they don't drink, they feel very unwell, they have withdrawal symptoms. But there's also psychological, so that belief that I need to have this to feel whatever. If I'm sad, I need to use this as a way to deal with things. So we think about it a lot. And it's not, the problem isn't just for those people that drink every day or drink many days during a week. There's also binge drinking, which a lot of people do. A lot of younger people will do, especially in the university age. And I did it myself, and it's where people during the week are busy in school and work,
Right.
but then the weekend comes along and they drink very heavily and they drink a lot.
Right.
And so it has quite an impact on the body. And again, they become very accustomed to that pattern that I will not drink during the week, or I'll have very little during the week, but when the weekend comes, I will go drink quite heavily, and then the whole weekend, more or less, they are intoxicated or a good part of it. And that's a problem too, because they've created a lifestyle that they can't break out of.
So is it just because of the stress level which is increasing in the society that people want some kind of avenue where they can be out of this? Is that also one of the major reasons?
I think it becomes an excuse. And when I say excuse, I'm not criticizing, I just mean it becomes an easy way to cope with things. Rather than thinking about how do I manage my stress in a more effective way, it's there, it's very easy to get, very accessible, so it kind of becomes an easy way to not have to deal with issues.
Right.
And the problem with that though is eventually you sober up and those issues are still there. And sometimes they've worsened because you've done something when you were intoxicated that might have made things worse.
Right.
But then that compels that person to continue to drink as a way to avoid, and that's again where the problem will get worse.
Right. So do you also think that drinking alcohol is the first step towards substance abuse?
You know, I know there's been lots of debates about that. I don't know. I don't necessarily feel that that's the case.
Right.
I think there's many different factors that go on in terms of even who you socialize with, and if those people are using. There's some groups that they socialize together and they only drink and that's what they will do. So it doesn't have to be. But the concern is the person that turns to alcohol to cope with stress and anger and all these other kind of difficult emotions is if other opportunities are presented to also cope, even though it's not healthy coping,
Right.
but if they're presented with drugs as a way to deal with their stress, they will probably try it.
Right. So Gary, we know that of course alcohol is easily available, but when it comes to drugs, it's still not openly available. But the way it's easily available, that is a matter of concern. Now, you being a social worker, what do you feel? What should be done? Because we hear, the police raids sometimes and gets hold of some people, but the top bigwigs still are operating the way the things are happening. So with your experience, what do you feel and what needs to be done? We would like to talk about this after this short break. ਸੋ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਜੋ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੈਰੀ ਥਾਂਦੀ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਅਬਿਊਜ਼ਸ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਵੱਧ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਉੱਤੇ ਐਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਦੀ, ਸਬਸਟੈਂਸ ਅਬਿਊਜ਼ ਜੋ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਸੋਸ਼ਲੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਕੰਪਲਸਿਵ ਇੱਕ ਡਰਿੰਕਰ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਉਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਐਕਸਕਿਊਜ਼ ਲੱਭਦਾ ਹੈ, ਬਹਾਨੇ ਲੱਭ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਜੋ ਗਮੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੈਲੀਬ੍ਰੇਟ ਕਰੇ ਜਾਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਦਬਾਵੇ। ਪਰ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਪੀ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਾਅਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਿਰਫ ਸਬਸਟੈਂਸਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਜਾਏਗਾ, ਉਹ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਮੇਜਰ ਫੈਕਟਰ ਨਹੀਂ, ਉਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਫੈਕਟਰਸ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਈਜ਼ੀਲੀ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਹੈ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਜਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਡਰੱਗਸ ਜੋ ਹਨ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਲੋਕ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਲੈ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵੱਧਦਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਰੋਕ ਲਾਈ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਸ ਛੋਟੀ ਜਿਹੀ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ।
ਕੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਦਰਦ ਤੋਂ ਪਰੇਸ਼ਾਨ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ? ਹੁਣ ਫਿਕਰ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਿਰਫ 90 ਸਕਿੰਟਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਰਦ ਤੋਂ ਰਾਹਤ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮਾਰਕਸ ਫਾਰਮੇਸੀ ਦੇ ਐਲਨ ਗਲਾਸਰ, ਜੋ CKNW ਤੇ ਸ਼ਨੀਵਾਰ 6 ਵਜੇ ਸਿਹਤ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਨੂੰ ਆ ਕੇ ਮਿਲੋ ਤੇ ਆਪ ਪੁੱਛੋ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਦਰਦ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਐਡ ਦਾ ਹਵਾਲਾ ਦਿਓ ਤੇ ਮੁਫਤ ਕੰਸਲਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਲਓ। ਯੂਨਿਟ 101 8035 120 ਸਟਰੀਟ ਡੈਲਟਾ, ਕਾਲ 604 596 1774।
ਸੋ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਥ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਗੈਰੀ ਥਾਂਡੀ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਐਡਿਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਐਡਿਕਟਡ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਅਵੇਲੇਬਲ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਕੀ ਕੁਝ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ, ਆਓ ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਕੁਝ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਸੋ ਬਿਫੋਰ ਦ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਮਾਈ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਵਾਜ਼ what should be done as we know that openly it's not available, but it is easily accessible, the drugs and everything else, and our youth especially get enticed and then we know what the results are.
It's not an easy answer. It's
Right.
not an easy one to answer. I know there's places around the world that have tried to fully legalize drugs in certain areas, and it's worked to some extent, but it's also the problem still there. I personally feel that we can have enforcement. Enforcement should go after more often. Should go after the producers and sort of the higher level people. And less so after the substance affected or substance using people who might be, stealing in stores. Not to say I'm not saying that's good,
Right.
but these are folks that are doing this to just survive with their addiction. So I support the role of police and enforcement. I would love to see much more in the other areas around prevention,
Right.
around the type of education being provided to children and youth, and around intervention. I would love to see more services for those that are affected, even those that are impacted by someone's substance use, more detoxification services,
Right.
more treatment centers. And then even for our community, I do feel that a lot of our community members, mostly men, they may not want to go to some of these inpatient facilities.
Right.
They may not want to go to a detox center. I would love to see a service that can come to their home,
Right.
and provide those health services to them. And there's a place in Chilliwack where they do that, where they go to people's homes and provide
Right.
those detoxification services. So back to that question, I feel like we often emphasize enforcement and we de-emphasize those other areas around prevention.
So these are
and
complementary,
intervention.
both should work hand in hand.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. I think there's a lot of people who are addicted who, if they were able to get treatment and it was in a fast, timely way, and it worked with their needs, I think there were people would want to get that help.
Right.
And then for those that choose not to get that help or are dealing the drugs and know the harm that's caused, then maybe enforcement should be picked up in that regard.
So now coming back to the issue of youngsters getting involved and then further on becoming compulsive addiction, they get the compulsive drinkers, I would say. And when parents see this, first, they kind of to sideline it and brush it aside. But then when things go out of hand, then they start taking the services. There also still there is a stigma. So with your experience, if you could just elaborate on this and give us some advice to those people who are into this thing and they want to be out of it, what should be the first step? And family might be wanting that person to be brought to some person where they can talk to some people like you, social workers and organizations like yours, but the person doesn't want to come because he hesitates. So how to deal with this? This is a major issue, and I get so many calls from parents and especially the spouses asking as to what should we do, because it's a 9 to 5 approach where your organizations work.
Yes.
And it becomes very difficult for them. So how to deal with this, and what can be done, and what are the resources available?
That's a wonderful question. That's one of the reasons we try to do something different in the organization I'm part of, is not be 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, but be available in the evenings, on the weekends. Try to go to the person when it's safe. It's sometimes difficult to go to someone's house because we don't know what state that person's in. They may be intoxicated and aggressive, and they would not like for someone to show up there and try to talk to them. But I think we need, as a service sector, need to do a better job of going to places where people are.
Right.
So we try to be, we're at a medical clinic, we try to be at schools, we try to be where people might go and try to provide service. For that question though, I see that a lot too, I hear that a lot. Wives calling, parents calling, wanting their child to get help or their adult son to get help. But he himself will not come. That's when we have to work with the family and get them to understand what they might be able to do to convince them to get to that point.
Right.
And it's not it's not going to be a simple process. They're going to have to sometimes be very firm with the way they deal with their loved one, not allow him to sort of do what he wants at home. Often we excuse the behavior.
Right.
We cannot do that. The more someone does those things, the more they realize, well, I can make these mistakes and someone else will clean them up and fix them. It's tough because sometimes a person will get worse when you do that, but we cannot enable those behaviors.
Right.
And so what we could do, and we try to do, is work with the family. And I mean, that's all we can do. If he doesn't want to get the help, then let's work with the family. Let's give them some support. Let's let them understand that it's not their fault. You know, let's make sure that they understand that they have their own lives they should be living, because often they will start to live that person's life again. They will clean and do everything, clean up after him, do all these things. I'm not saying to treat him poorly, but I'm saying often the more you do that, the more his behavior worsens.
Right.
And so we have to find that balance between, you know, being firm and having good boundaries.
Right.
And also, again, we have to live our own lives. I mean, we have to take care of ourselves. And so those are the kind of things we could do with families.
Right.
They can come to us, let's work together. Maybe at some point when he sees he's not going to necessarily get away with these behaviors, maybe something changes.
Right.
It may not, but it's
But at
certainly,
least that initiative to talk has to begin, and that's where the families need to come and start talking about it, and just not keep on just putting it sideline, and then
Absolutely.
they have to come out and talk about it.
Absolutely, and the sooner the better.
Right.
Instead of waiting until it gets to be such a big problem, start to, when you notice those things, we tell parents all the time, like, just watch their behavior. If it
Right.
changes rather suddenly or dramatically, then there's reason to get involved and talk to your child and find out what's happening.
So as these services are provided free, if somebody wants to call, where they can call?
They can call me actually, and I will answer the phone and talk to them, and we can arrange an appointment if that's something they want to do. My number is 778-321-3054, and we do not turn anyone away. If someone wants help, we will provide help. It may not be what they want. We may not be able to fix that other person,
Right.
but we will work with them and try to do what we can to hopefully improve that situation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
ਅੱਜ ਜਿਸ ਵਿਸ਼ੇ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਐਡਿਕਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਗੈਰੀ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜ਼ਰੂਰਤ ਹੈ ਇਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਦੀ, ਪਰ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰੀਵੈਂਟਿਵ ਮੈਜਰਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕੰਪਲੀਮੈਂਟਰੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਨਾਲ ਚੱਲਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਨੇ। ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੋਈ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਜੇਕਰ ਫੇਸ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਘਰ ਵਾਲਾ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਦੇ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਸਬਸਟੈਂਸ ਅਬਿਊਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਹੈ, ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੇਟ ਨਾ ਕਰੋ ਕਿ ਗੱਲ ਸਿਰੋਂ ਲੰਘ ਜਾਏ, ਇਮੀਡੀਏਟਲੀ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਨਾਲ। ਤੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਸਵਾਲ ਸੀ ਕਿ 9 ਤੋਂ 5 ਤੱਕ ਬਹੁਤਾਤ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਚੱਲਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਤੇ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਚੁੱਕਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕੋਈ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਜੈਨੇਸਿਸ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਅਤੇ ਇੰਪਾਵਰਮੈਂਟ ਸੁਸਾਇਟੀ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਵੀਕਐਂਡਸ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਵੀ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸਕਰੀਨ ਤੇ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਗਏ ਨੰਬਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫੋਨ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੇ ਜੇਕਰ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਮਝਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ।